Hello and welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner podcast. And boy, do we have a special one for you today. Later, I'll be joined by my good friend Lewis, who returns to talk about filming his final days on the Ted Lasso set. But first of all, Ebube and I are incredibly honored to be joined by one of the brilliant minds responsible for bringing this show to us. He is the first name you see once the episode fades to black. So I think it's apt that we have him on once Ted Lasso might have finally faded to black. Guys, please join us in welcoming to the podcast Adam Chip Hamilton.
Yeah, glad to be here, guys. Thanks so much for having me on. Thanks for your listeners, for you guys as well. Just again watching and supporting the show. It's been quite a wild up and down ride. With so much to hold near and dear to our hearts. And I just thank you guys for watching and being a part of it and supporting it and having this podcast, for promoting it as well too. And again, just incredibly thankful.
No, I mean, all we're doing is talking about TV. That's the fun part. You guys are the ones doing the real work.
Yeah, we're just happy to be here, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, the two people that covered the podcast extensively all across the season, we joined them on some episodes, but they unfortunately couldn't make it this episode. They sent their thanks, I guess, and their gratitude. They really enjoyed the season.
No problem at all. No, thank you.
I think so Ted Lasso has presumably finished forever. Don't worry, I won't ask you those questions. I won't ask you about spin-offs or whatever. But right. I guess my first question is, how are you? How are you feeling?
Oh, you know what? That's so funny. How am I feeling? Again, I'm sorry, but we do again. It's where everybody was in the circle, around the fire inside, throwing everything and their memorabilia in. And again, it's one of those. Mm-hmm. I think it was Steph that had said, don't be, or I think it was maybe even Billy. It was one of the two. Don't cry that it's over. Smile that it happened. And I not to quote our own, but it's the truest thing I can probably say is that it's been just such an unbelievable force. I can't even say really TV show, because for me it was much more than that. It took, it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, or lack of sleep, offering on very little energy. And that's the work part of it, but the people, that's the life force that puts it back into you. Because when I always say to people that I don't have to go to work. I never have to go to work. And Ted Lasso embodied this in its highest form, was that I don't have to go to work. I get to go to work. I get to work with people like Lewis was on our show. I get to work with, again, guys like Jason, Brendan, Joe, magicians like Paul Cripps, Nikki in makeup, our wonderfully talented cast. It's just absolutely incredible and an honor, because they're all absolute just ninjas and assassins at their crafts. And talent, though, can only take you so far. It's that 1 + 1 = 3 mentality, where you have everyone buying in, and if everyone buys in and has love in their heart and puts that passion into their work, you can move mountains, you can achieve the impossible, you can do all that stuff. And I truly felt, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, is that Ted Lasso itself, its entity, everything that came along with it, really, for me, made me question what was possible in my own life. Because from Jumpstart, it was, we can't take a promo spot for NBC Sports and turn it into a TV show. We can't do that. People have tried and failed miserably. We can't do that. That's not going to be what it is. And that was the first one, and that happened. And then it's just like, well, we knew we have I think we always knew that we had a really good, solid show, but we didn't necessarily know how good and how successful, I don't think anybody knew it was going to become. And, if you asked my 7-year-old self, because how I look at my life a lot of times is I look at my 7-year-old self and my 80-year-old self and who the person I am now, doing it all in between. And my 7-year-old self is like, there's no way that like you have a career here and you're making money, produce, doing movies and television and all that, and be happy with that. And I am. But, did I ever dream of being on stage, accepting Emmy Awards for something that I was involved in creating? And no, I didn't. And again, you just look at these like that. Again, that kid was like, that's we dream of that kind of stuff. That's people go their entire lifetimes without even sniffing something like that, and we're able to do that. And then just kept rolling with different things that got into the show. And again, when the best way for me personally, the way I love to motivate people is doing something that everybody else says that it can't be done. And that for me is the best way you can motivate people, is to say, what, it's not impossible. This is possible, and we just did it. Because again, I that was one of the things that I had said, in our final days of shooting with this, is I have a really special bond with again, especially the guys, with everybody, but really the guys again on the team, and just making sure everybody, the day ins and day outs of getting everybody ready and motivated to to do the work that day that was one of the last things I said to them, is that that the people that tell you that it can't be done are always interrupted by the person that said, I just did it. And this group of people did it.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you guys for coming to the podcast. That's the end of our discussion. I don't know how we continue from that.
That's it.
No, I mean that was just great. I feel like I got choked up at points during that.
Yeah.
It's
an emotional time for everybody, right?
I can imagine.
It's
if you don't mind, I'd like to start at the top. Just how did you get involved, and when did you get involved in this project?
Gosh, that's a layered question, is what I'll say. Is I think I will start with, again, my relationship with Jason, which again, he did a movie in Boston, in Central Massachusetts, called Tumbledown, and that was my first time working with him, and it went successfully. And he said, "Listen, I think you're kick ass. Why don't you send your business resume over to my business manager?" And I want to say within days, I was doing my first kind of solo exclusive project with Jason, and that project was an NBC promo spot for Ted Lasso.
Wow.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so that's when, and then I remember, and that was the first time I met Joe Kelly. That was the first time I met Brendan Hunt. First time I met Jeff Chetty, his manager, he talks about. And we were just, again, we were in a writing session, and these guys, again, were like, I remember phoning back to my mom and be like, "Hey mom, I think I'm stealing money, because like they're paying me to be around these guys, and they're just coming up with these ideas, and like I am literally, like, my stomach hurt because I was laughing so hard." And even the promo spots, some of the stuff that never even saw, like public, that were some of the funniest things. I was physically covering, like again, in like making gashes in my face, trying to cover my mouth not to blow takes, because I was laughing so hard at what these guys had come up with. And right then and there, again, it went very well. And as you know, that the show, or the commercial, or promo spot anyway, became a television show, and well, the rest is kind of history. Yeah,
here we are.
Yeah.
I loved those promo spots. I used to just watch them over and over again on YouTube. Which, I mean, back to what you said earlier, I remember when the show was coming out, I was like, I told Louis, I was like, is this what they're doing? Is this? I was quite scared. I was like, I love this promo star. And then like 3 episodes in, I was like, oh, okay, I get it. I mean, just it's fine.
Yeah, no, and it was funny, again, from perspectives of, again, having have shot it, and then even I probably even trying to to sell the show, which again, a lot of those guys, Bill Lawrence and those guys and Jason and all, I did not have any, kind of part of as far as selling the show to networks and things like that. But, telling people about the show, especially before we even came out, people were like, yeah, I don't know if I'm on board with that. That's okay. Yeah, like that's like maybe a good commercial, but there's no way I'd probably watch an entire show about that. And the football, it's really hard to do. Like, and then when the show kind of came out and started airing season 1, you would always the headlines for it, or at least from my perspective anyway, would be like, yeah, so this show is actually pretty good. Like, kind of like like we weren't supposed to be that good, and they're like, now like, hey, have you heard of Ted Lasso? It's actually a pretty good show. Or have you heard of it? And a lot of it, because it was kind of, I want to say, like maybe even like 3/4 of the way done, or like halfway through, that did people kind of pop up on different radars and people kind of talking about it, whether it be in media or articles and things like that, because a lot of it was word of mouth. I know there wasn't, I don't think, a whole lot of promotion for the start of the show, and then kind of word of mouth through the internet, as we know, and as it became, and again, during that time especially as well, I think a lot of us were inside of our houses during the pandemic as well too. So it was also new content, which I think also kind of worked in our favor as well. But the show was always, we again, you you're in the driveway, practicing your jump shot, or you're in, you're on a pitch, practicing your free kicks. It's so that you can get better and hone your craft to know that you yourself are good. It's just whether other people are going to, get on board to see it or not, but you become the best person that you can be. It's what you did yesterday that is shown to the world today. So, today is too late. It's what you do. And it's that constant preparation. And when you're like, yep, I'm going to hit that shot, when the game's on, when the limelight, when you hit record and that little, red light is on next to the camera, that's the time to perform. And it's just, we always felt that we had a good show. Now, did we think it was going to, get to the level that it did and reach the audiences that it did? I don't think anybody did, but we're sure glad it did. But we were confident from the start, and we're just glad that everybody else, saw, even further than what we could see, and just kind of embraced the show, which we're super grateful for.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, clearly it takes a lot of work, a lot of collaboration to bring this kind of thing together. But sort of just to clarify it for our listeners, I guess, and I suppose also for us, your day-to-day job as a supervising producer, like what is your own role on set and in the way the show itself kind of functions?
Sure. So it's a coordinating producer, which again, not a lot of people are familiar with the title. But in a nutshell, basically is, and again, Lewis, you feel free to jump in here because you get to see me again on a day-to-day basis. But from my perspective, what I try to do is I just try to get the best out of people. I try to get the best out of my crew. I try to get the best out of our actors. I try to get the best out of everybody that is kind of in our orbit, that is involved with the show, and in filling in gaps. I always say that I have a CEO mentality, whereas I create solutions, I execute operations, and then I again is what is it? It's CEO, create solutions, execute those plans, and then optimize systems. That's what it is. Sorry. That's essentially what I can do. There's a lot of gaps in between productions of trying to fill in certain things. And again, I realize I'm being vague, but because it's just the kind of a scope of everything that we do on set. It again, to shoot for the improvement of that, the betterment of that, and then also to streamline that with holding relatively to a budget is, again, easier said been done. So,
Mm-hmm.
and then also too, not getting caught up in the mundane, because again, a production day is brutal. Again, in England, I think we shot, anywhere between 8 to 10 hour days. Some days, again, they went to 12, and here I have the American kind of background of productions where the longest day I think I've ever worked on a set was 22 and a half hours. And it's not out of the realm of possibility when I was, again, coming up, and is to work an average of a show of like 18 and a half hour days. Again, on Ted, it was I probably averaged around 16 and a half hours of just the day to day of not only preparing for tomorrow, but then throughout the start of the shooting day, make sure, and then also to plan that next day out as well too, to make sure you get up and get ready to go, and then again to just kind of care for everybody, to kind of just know that we're gonna be able to instill confidence in people, to be able to say that you are something special, you are a part of something great, and and carry yourself as such, and just have faith in not only what you do but also your craft, because just as well as anybody that if you were able to be cut, trust me, the studio would, because they want to save money. So what that tells you is that you're very, very good at your job, and you're essential to being here. And I want you as essential to being here. I want you part of the team, and I want you to be a part of this, and be a part of the giant, if you will, Greyhound movement that is moving forward.
Oh, we're definitely part of the movement.
Yeah, I can definitely double down on that. I mean, obviously, from our guys' point of view, obviously we see Chip a lot, and a lot of it was you turn around and you just see Chip move, and it was quick. It's just like this pace because he's got something to do. But it was the thing that I think from us boys that we got the most is Chip, you made us feel like we were wanted, not just needed. Not just needed there because we were a body in the room. It was, we felt wanted, and it felt like every time we were coming in the morning, it was worth us being there. We were worthy to you guys. We were worth being there, and just it made it so much special. And I told Bankole in our last episode that one of my favorite things ever was coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning, and you're like asleep, right? And it's like -4, you've just done a 2-hour drive, and then doors fly open, you come in, and then you're like, Greyhounds! And that's it. And it's like, oh shit, we're here, we're back at work. And it was that vibe that you like instilled in us for the rest of the day. And yeah, I think a lot of that Ted vibe is down to what you did on the show.
Well, thank you.
Not just the CEO.
Well, and again, a part of that, again, it's 6 like there's an element that I love to production as a part of He Got Game, where he's talking. It's the American film starring Denzel Washington and Ray Allen, and there's a part where they're playing one-on-one with each other when the character Jesus Shuttlesworth is younger and he's dribbling the basketball, and he says, who's up right now? It's me, you, and Jordan. That's who's up right now. Me, you, and Jordan. And I love that about referring obviously to Michael Jordan. And what I love about that is there is an element to production where I go, who's up at 3:30 in the morning right now? Me. That's who's up. Winners. That's who's up. Like that's, again, that mentality, that Mamba mentality, that Kobe Bryant mentality is like you can get stuff done before most people haven't even opened up their eyes yet. Like I love that. And then again, and I say that is that because that's what it's going to take to be great. You heard this from Jason. I don't want it to be good. I want it to be great. You heard him say it. Like, and again, and Lewis knows, he knows it's like we could settle for that take. We can go home. Everybody, we can go home. We can move on past this next thing, or we can make it great. What do you guys want to do? And again, just hearing everybody in the locker room, literally in my head right now, just feel we want to make it great. Let's go again. We go again, and that's what it's like. I think to be a part of that show is that, and it's not, and because I think a lot of when people hear that kind of mentality, I think maybe what they're picturing, it's like a dark dungeon and somebody's there, like hitting them, and it's like, no, we want better, it's like, but it's with relativity, to have faith in not only yourself and your ability, but also to the people that are next to you, to know that if we do go again, our camera guys have to pick up that heavy camera equipment again, and our grips have to pick up that heavy equipment again, and we go, and it's like that. But it's like, you know what? Are we all bought into this? Are we all bought into this? Can we do better? And it's like this collective, yes. And you see it. And what's on the other side of that, gentlemen, and people listening, is absolute magic. It's getting and seeing everybody again on a film set just be ready and rolling. Silence. There are hundreds of people on a film set, and then all together, all in tune, silence. Just that alone is amazing. And then you get to create shots like the one that we had with the again, my nickname for him is Hero, that he saved, and we can get into that discussion, whenever you guys want. But
we will.
Having that click in, and then knowing when it hits, guys, they don't make a drug for that. they don't make a drug for it. It'll shoot down your spine. It'll hit your fingertips. It'll make your heart, skip a beat. It'll bring water to your eyes. It's that magic. It's that Quan. Yeah.
No, trust me. I think you're speaking to the right audience right now. So that we understand. Just before we move on. Yeah,
really quickly, I'm just going to grab a charger because I heard a beat. I heard a beat. These aren't lasting long.
There you go.
Just before we move on from the, I guess, praising producers, I just want to quickly mention. So I recently finished a short film, and I had to be a producer on that along with my co-director because we had no money and everything.
Sure.
And never again. Never producing. Like, I have so much respect for producers and ADs. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to do this anymore. Just please, no, thank you. So I'm just like, oh, yeah.
I get it. It's because again, and that's, I think a part of it is I think as an audience member and a viewer, again, you have the privilege, I think, of, just watching your 20 minutes, 30 minutes, hour-long show, or, however long movie. And then people, have the privilege of getting out of there and just being like, yeah, that sucked. They don't, that's it. That's it. Like that, there's no, conductive criticism. They like, nope, that stinks. They go on their, keyboards or whatever, and they, and they hate on it, whatever. But they don't realize even the crappiest movies, it's like, it's a coordinated effort of hundreds of people to try to, release content by the time it sees, people's eyes and it reaches them. So, and then, you're going to combine that with, being a successful show as well too. It's that, times a lot. Cause then what happens is when you, again, from season one, Lewis will tell you, even from season 1 to season 2, it's like, okay, guess what? Start over, done. They don't care what you did then. They care about what you're doing now and what we're going to do. So again, what the world's attention span is like, you know what I mean? Like the next video, the next show, the next, whatever. And it's like, okay. And we know that. So again, put that aside. Like, how are we going to bear down for season 1? How are we going to bear down for season 3? Like like rearview mirrors don't exist in this car. Like we go forward, you know what I mean? And on top of that, we know what the car can do. We know what mountaintops we can reach. So again, let's climb the next one then. Let's get up there.
I mean, yeah. Speaking of criticism, just quickly, no. It's not that interview. No, I personally think that for whatever praise or criticism the show might receive or has received or will receive in the future, I still think that its everlasting legacy will be that it's a show that made people feel good. That is the underlined thing on the tombstone. And I've been lucky enough to speak with Lewis, as we've mentioned, and the feeling I get is that that's an ethos that comes straight from the set. So I think my question is it would now be twofold: is one, how conscious were you of fostering a set where those kind of feelings were prevalent? Like you knew that that's what you wanted to do, because we've heard horror stories of terrible sets, but they produce warm art. So it's not, it doesn't have to be a good set to produce good art. It'd be like, well, how intentional were you? Were like, this was a set we have to make. And then as a follow-up, I guess, is after the release of the first season, it was obvious how the show was making people feel. Did that influence what you guys were doing, or were you just like you just said, start from scratch, zero? We don't care how, we just want to make the thing we want to make. I just
100%. I'm a big fan of the action, the attitude, and flex leadership, meaning that's from the top down.
mm-hmm.
It starts with Jason, Joe, Brennan, Bill. Like it all trickles down, and I've even heard Jason even say that this is the product of what you get when you get people that all want to buy in and quote unquote, give, I don't know if I can swear on this podcast, but give a shit about each other. And it's made
as
with
much
love.
As you want.
Okay. but truly, this is what happens when people give a shit about each other, give a shit about what they're making. And it's made with love. That again, it sounds simple. It sounds again in 3 sentences. It sounds simple, but it is so hard to actually carry that through and the length of time throughout all of everything that you do, for the show or otherwise. And this is, and truly, I would lay down in traffic for any single one of them. Like again, whether it be cast, crew. Like I love these people because and it's true when you've gone through something like a production where I don't necessarily want to equate it to again the army or anything like that, or life and death situation. But I think when you go through any sort of difficult time or any time of adversity where a task needs to be done, and especially a task like again creating a television show, and then on top of that, when you certainly hit a standard that people are used to your show having, to maintain that level it's daunting, and it's brutal, and it's unforgiving, and it's hard. And one of the things that I think people can do is they can be like, you know what, it's too hard, I'm going to give up. And you know what, screw you, I'm going to look out for me. I need to get through that. This is just my process. I don't need, you put blinders on, you go, and everybody's got to get through that. And that's how people can deal with it. Or what you can do is you can look to the person to your right, you can look to the person to your left, and you can put arms around each other and you say, you know what, this is what's going on around us, but inside here, this is what we have. And these are the people that I have absolute faith in that are going to take us to get to what we need to get to, because we are going to get there. And we have faith in each other, us, the leaders. We have faith that we're going to get there. We know that we're going to get there. We're capable of getting there. Let's go get there. Let's hold each other accountable, and let's go get there.
That makes
I remember on the very, very first day of filming in season 1, because I wasn't originally supposed to be on it. I didn't even get the audition. And
I love these stories.
I remember I got a day, 2 days before filming. I had a phone call. I can't remember who it was now, but they said, "We'd love you to come in for 1 day and 1 day only." And I was like, "Okay, cool." So now, I was like, "Yeah, why not? Come in for the first day." And did the whole day. And I think it was you, Chip. I think you come up to me at the end of the day and you said, "You look good in that shirt." And from then I was like, that's too much. There's too much to say to me. But I remember just going back on what Bankole said, your original question. I remember the first time I walked in that locker room with all of the boys, and Jason walked in. And obviously I've been on a few film sets before where, there are these big, amazing guys. And Jason wasn't like that. He walked up to us, he looked me in the eye, shook my hand, and said, "Hi, I'm Jason." I know. Like,
Been
I know
alive for
who
the
you
last
are.
how many years?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I was like, of course I know, but it was that thing of although it doesn't seem like it's the right thing to say there, but like it felt that there was this togetherness. There was no separation between me, Jason, you, Jason, anyone else, or you know, me to Dijon, me to everyone is just on the same page. And I think that was instilled from the very, very first day. And you know, I was someone that wasn't even supposed to be on pass that day. So that level of respect that I was given on that very first day was when I was told, because at the time I got offered to be on The Crown for 5 months. I remember I got offered to be on The Crown for 5 months, and I got told the same day that I could do Ted for 3, and that interaction was a no-brainer. Absolute no-brainer for me.
Well, we're certainly glad you stuck around for sure. We're certainly glad that you stuck around. And that's true. And I remember, because I think a lot of times one of the challenges too with shows like this, and again we have American football shows, and again there are some pitfalls again with I think producers and maybe even some like filmmakers, studios, however, kind of cringe when you talk about team sports because they're technically harder to film, and basically what ends up happening is that there becomes a separation between like your main known well actors and then the people just that are quote unquote filler players that are filling out the team and things like that. And that was one of the things that we really wanted to strive to make a priority, that once that Greyhound shirt basically goes on you, whether you don't say any lines at all, you get zero screen time whatsoever, or you're the marquee name on the marketing, or you're taking up all the screen time, you're one of the leads, is that it should feel like everybody's a part of a team. Now, are there going to be star players on certain teams? Well, like, again, yes, there will be, but it's still at its very core, it's still a team. It's a team. Everybody's valued. Everyone's valued. And again, I can't go any longer without saying the story of Lewis. Do you remember what episode this is? Maybe we can, again, the power of editing.
Episode 7.
Episode 7. So episode 7,
Sure.
We have, because again, with me, it's like it runs again in my mind with all that is again.
Oh, I didn't forget it. I didn't forget it. I timestamped that shit and everything.
As you shouldn't, Nero. As you shouldn't. We have this one scene which involves. It's basically meant to showcase how the Greyhounds, are going from they're kind of pulling themselves out of a funk to show how much they're clicking as a team. And there are various ways that they do it. And in this particular shot, it's a one shot, but Charlie, who plays Will the Kitman, is kind of moving through that's how it starts off, moving through the locker room, just kind of doing his day-to-day, but he's like handing off a bottle, which then is then passed to certain folks and kind of in playful manners, but it's very, very hard. It's like different coordinate. Like some people are kicking it, some people are grabbing it, some people are flipping it over their shoulders, and so when you have that kind of stuff, and Jason was adamant on it being a one shot, like we're not going to edit, we're gonna shoot this all in one thing. And again, it would be like, somebody would throw it to another person and someone inevitably wouldn't catch it, or, whatever. And those are things that happen, that they're bound to happen. But we know that we can get it to the point where we can make it to where we can shoot the shot. So we're going through, and it's just not happening. It's not happening, and I don't know how many takes that we had done, but it's getting to the point where, and again, filmmaking is the beautiful axiom of time equals money, and it's just getting to the point where it's just like, okay, guys, do we need to move on because we have to get our day done? Like, what, like, how is this going to work out? Whatever. And we're going through, and it's just not working. And we're like, okay, this has got to be one of the final final takes that we have. And what was happening is that there were certain people that only had certain things that they were supposed to do in it. And of course, we always use this term as filling up the room. So if you know that like the main people that are supposed to be involved in actually having actions to do something, you know, to kind of fill in or be like acting like you're talking to somebody and be like, oh, or duck, or, you know, do whatever. There's other things that you can do, again, to fill up the room.
Mm-hmm.
This particular time, this was, I think it was the last time. We're like, that's it. We're going to do this one last time. Before we do, though, I run into the room and I go to the folks that are, I said, you know what, if you see like anything kind of awry, like if for whatever reason, if you know, if a towel drops, you know, pick it up and then throw it to somebody else and just make sure, you know, it looks good, you know, whatever, and we'll just kind of carry on. And then hopefully it'll seem like, you know, nothing went awry and the errors didn't occur. But if you see that, it's your responsibility to kind of see it, and we'll know it. But you know, this is how you earn your money as an actor. You know, play it off like, you know, it like it didn't happen. You know, whatever. So we go, we do it, and inevitably, and I think it was Christo at the end. He catches a bottle and he goes to put it back into Will the Kit Man's kind of 6-carrier water bottle carrier. Well, wouldn't you know it, that this bottle is tilted slightly to the right, and we're like, oh God, this is bad. Like, oh, we almost had it. And then out of nowhere, out of nowhere, we see this foot in a slide just gently kick this bottle enough so that it lands perfectly inside this 6-carrier water bottle carrier thing. And Will exits out of the room and the door shuts behind him. There's a silent pause. They don't know this. I am going nuts. I'm practically digging my nails into shoulders because I go, oh my God, I think we got it. We got it. Make sure the sound was on. And then it was like, cut. We exploded. We absolutely exploded with jubilation. And I think
you jumped over that centerpiece. You ran in.
That's it. Because he was at the back of the room, and I ran in the room. I think I jumped and just tackled him, and just like, it was unbelievable. Now, a slight backstory to that story as well too, because with the foot kicking it, is we actually put Lewis on one of the back training tables because you had hurt your foot in training, or one of the pieces that we had to film.
Yeah.
So you were actually injured, which is the reason why you're even sitting in that location to begin with. And then to use, again, just be sitting there and then use that foot to then kick in that water bottle into perfect position, and then have the door shut behind Charlie. Like, the place erupted. But the reason why I tell you that story on the back of what I told you is that, yes, there were certain people that had actions, and again, people had lines in there as well too. People were saying different things, and again, you had your main cast players doing their stuff. But this is the absolute truest action. Everybody in that room, because the most important person that time, that person that saved that shot, was you, Lewis, who wasn't even supposed to be, who was supposed to be on the crown.
Without a bid. That was their deal, without the bid. And I said, no.
Who was supposed to be on the crown. And he ends up, and I go, that's why it's a team. That's why everybody contributes. Everybody. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not just what you see on camera. It's people in our office. People that are with changes that come literally up to the second, up to the minute, are just, again, running to get those pages, make sure the stapler's in the right place, keeping all the order. Again, like, we were truly, truly blessed with the people that we had working on our show, because what that's a reflection of as well too is that why is he paying attention? He's paying attention ultimately because he wants to be involved. Why does he want to be involved? Because he loves to do this. This is what he does. Mm-hmm. And so when that plays into it, when you're able to call upon those elements as a human being and as a professional on that set to reach, and because you know with your contribution, it can lead to something huge. That's what you get. You get that kick in. You get that kick in from somebody that you never would have thought would have been a part of that.
And you don't get people that have the opportunity to do that or feel like that they have the confidence or the worth to do that unless you have that set vibe. If that set vibe isn't there, I don't even put my foot out. I just go, nothing to do with me.
Yep.
You know?
Well, I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to, whatever. But be active about it.
But it's that team. It's that team, and it's that confidence that we get from being on set, and that vibe is that star players are just as important as the other people. Everyone's together, looking left and right, putting your arms around them and saying, hold on, I got you. I've got you in this
100%.
one.
100%.
So it's special. It's a special feeling when you're in that chair and you see the bottle and you hear a groan. I think it was Deej. I heard like because it was like everyone could see the bottle.
It was tilted. And we knew we're like, another one that we have to cut and then redo. And then you see this foot. It was like a magic foot. It came out of nowhere. And he just
somehow
he just hits it in and it goes in perfectly. And the play after we yelled cut, the place erupted. It absolutely erupted. People were like, "This is amazing!" Like it was incredible. So that's why I don't know if you heard me earlier. That's why sometimes I refer to him as Hero because he got that nickname that day. It was like that's why we call him Hero because he was a hero that day. Let me tell you, he saved the shot. He saved that oneer because we were gonna have to scrap it and use it for parts and it wouldn't have looked the same. It wouldn't have had that magic. It wouldn't have, whatever. Instead, we did. And he put on that Superman cape and he did it.
Yeah, honestly, I think it was effective because it was just a really great thing to watch. I mean, just hearing that story is amazing because seeing that shot, it definitely did everything you guys wanted it to. I mean, I got up and I literally started cheering. I was like, wow, this total football is really total footballing. You know what I mean? Like it was really great to witness that. And actually, hearing how the set is and thinking about, how it feels to watch it. I think also about kind of the external ways people interact with the show, and I wonder how, that comes into stuff like the coordination that you do, Chip, because I think I'm a very musical person. So I think about things like musical supervision and scoring, song choices and soundtrack. I wonder, like, who puts together something like Ted's breakup mix? Like, is that purely a writing endeavor? Does that contain work from overall production in terms of creating the world of the show? Even things like the Richmond Till We Die chant that we all love, right? How does all of that come through to create that feeling that's, felt in set, on screen and also like out here when we are watching it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of getting back to again, speaking of the music and again the collaboration between what you're seeing visually and then what you're hearing audioly as well too is that we again just been so blessed. And again, Jason Joe and Brendan again are again super involved, and I think in their head and creatively, they have an idea of what that is, but then you get just absolute magicians, wizards like Tom Howe and Marcus Mumford, kind of being like, okay, so this is the tone, this is okay, let me whatever, and then what I think is they put their hands together, they rub them together, and they put their fingertips like this, and they sprinkle this magic dust, and then it just comes out like, I mean, literally, I think in regards even to the finale, like you would just all of a sudden you felt like you heard notes, but you didn't hear them, you felt them on the back of your neck, and then they reach the back of your tear ducts, and I go, yep, this is you guys know what you're doing, because I am an emotional wreck right now, just like literally it could be just like a few notes they're leading into this, and I'm like, oh, here we go, and then the song just comes in, and you're seeing what's happening on screen, you're hearing the tones of the scores of the music, and then again your brain's mixing it all up to then feel emotions, and then if you're like me, your eyes just start turning on, your faucets, and it's again, because it's all it's all glued to your heart. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. But and again, I'm sure there was a question in there, but that's just again an overview as to I hope I answered your question as far as how that comes about and people that are responsible for it.
Yeah, for sure. I think about in not just even the music, like all that coordination that comes into that feeling, even when the actual game is being played. I mean, this is a show where they play football, of course. So there are scenes where the actual cinematography on the pitch is just amazing. You know, I think about all those tracking shots. Like, are those very hard to film? Because I mean, I can also imagine the VFX and other things of, you know, people in the stands and just filling up that stadium, creating that atmosphere. Like, what's that like? Because I know for a long, we've been talking about what it's like in kind of the locker room and the more intimate sets, but what's it like when you want to create the atmosphere of, you know, the real hype moments of the show?
Yeah, it's so to in a shell, is it difficult to film? The answer to that question is yes.
Okay.
Yes. And I think, you know, our grip ant. I just think of this dude who again, he grips, and for those of you that don't know, basically grips are lighting and camera support. And it just basically how their kind of jobs work out is that they're constantly carrying the heaviest stuff. They're constantly carrying the heaviest stuff. So when you ask, you know, and not only the heavy, but it's also put together precisely and all that. So when you ask things like one more take, or hey guys, we're gonna, you know, this time we're gonna shoot this shot and have to move all the, like, again, the big heavy equipment. It's an ask. It's a physical, mental, like it's a hard thing. And
Yeah,
to see the way this guy works his team to be able to carry big, heavy equipment and have it roll, not to where like you're lugging it all around the place and the camera's going on, to have those smooth strokes, you know, like it's incredible. We also again have an incredible camera team with Ness and David. Like it like again it is it's coordination, and then also too the physicality, you know, as an actor, you know, and not only as an actor, but because it is, you know, a soccer show and or a football show, you know, there's
Oh,
also
you were so
other
close.
people.
You were
Yeah,
so close to going to the interview without saying soccer. You were so close.
So
I was
time out real
keeping
quick.
track. I was keeping
Exactly.
track.
So time
you're
out
doing
real
great.
quick is that because I go back and forth because I don't know, because it's a global audience. So I know if there are some American, you know, listeners that I try to play. So what I
They're wrong.
find myself saying all
They
the
are
time
wrong.
is soccer / football. Right.
They are wrong. They're just wrong. It's like that's just
There you
the
go.
rule.
Simple
They're
as
wrong.
that.
For the purposes of this, I'll say football. For the purposes of this, I'll stick to football because again, I'm back in LA and again I'm hearing again, you know, whether it be publicity shows and things of people, again, soccer, football. But tell you what, for the purposes of this, we'll keep it as just football. We'll do that. But again, getting back to what I was saying is the you know, even if you're again one of the main parts of that and everything goes right, you know, Ant's got his guys, you know, working the grip department the way it should, camera's all great, you know, whatever, sounds working again with that's another thing too, is that sounds also in absolute tandem with all of that as well too. Then again you have your actor that's performing the things. Then there could be a person way off in the distance, way off now, and I'm not even saying somebody on the field, but you're also, again, to make it authentic, how about, you know, like a photographer, like a random photographer, or like a security guard that's just literally like on his phone, you know, whatever, when a goal is being scored. It's like, no, you got to be into, like, you got to be, and then again, it's like, we got to go again, because but that's the coordinating effort that it takes for all of those shots. Like, again, show me a football shot, you know, on our show where it contains just one person, just one. Like, there's no defender, there's not, just one person. It's probably, I would think, probably very, very few. So it's constantly having everybody buy. And then on top of that, I bet you that most people can keep that focus for an hour. I bet you most people can keep that focus for maybe 2. Again, standard shooting day in the UK is around 10 hours, right? Can you do that for? And this is why, again, Lewis, is why, again, one of my strengths that I like to do is I just, again, get the best out of people, get them focused. Is that be like, okay, guys, here we go. We're gonna go again. Here we go in the 11th hour. It's again, for me, it's the fourth quarter basketball, fourth quarter American football, second half, 80th minute pass. Let's keep our focus. Don't lose it now. We did all the work today. Let's keep it going. Like don't lose it now. Like, this is the most. As a matter of fact, this is the most important, because these are the shots we're really trying, because the day has now slid to now we really, really need these shots, like at the end of the day. And so, you know, keep everybody focused. And again, that doesn't necessarily that necessarily doesn't just apply to the actors. That applies to, again, all of the crew, making sure that people aren't walking through the shot, maybe like again a random crew member walking through the shot, even down to that extra camera guy or that person even in the stands. If it's supposed to be a summer shot, they may not have taken their winter coat off even though it was freezing when we were filming. You know, they may not have taken that, you know what I mean? Like it's that kind of focus and time that you need to have, not just on your first scene of the day, not just in your first half of the day, but throughout the entire length of the day. Now you're going to combine that with how long are you into the shoot? Like how long has it been going? And you know, it depending on, you know, the season, it can go on a pretty long time in order to get the show, you know, achieve that everybody, you know, wants to see the standard that we know to achieve, and to have you guys, you know, appreciate the show as much as you do.
Yeah. I remember, and actually, I swear this podcast is about Ted Lasso, not the short film I did. But I remember we got our friends to
the
be
line's
extras.
blur, though. The line's blue. The line's blue.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Same Apple TV, just same budget, everything. No, we got our friends to be extras because obviously we had no money. And I think we've done like 6 hours of this party scene. And then one of my friends comes to me and she says, "You must really love this. You must really love filmmaking." I was like, "Oh, why?" She was like, "Because we've been doing the same thing over and over again for 6 hours. And like, you're still interested. Like, you must really care." I was like, "Oh, I'd never put it together. I was just doing it because that's what you do. Like, you keep on going and going and going at the same level." But we've taken up so much of your time, but we can't finish without asking some stupid questions. So I think first of all, it would be, is there a cameo of yours in the show that we missed?
Oh boy, here it is.
We've been wondering.
It's not a leading question; it's just a question.
Yes. So they did approach me season 3 to ask basically if I wouldn't mind throwing an Arsenal kid on, and yes, and being an Arsenal fan again, it was an absolute honor to do that, and then just again. A lot of fun. I've been playing football.
Well done.
Since I was 3 years old. Since I was 3 years old. And again, like I said, my 7-year-old self and my 80-year-old self, and just, you know, the love I have for the game is very, very deep. And so to be able to do that, and again, even from day one, just kind of being out there with the guys, it's really, you know, kind of tough to even tell them, you know, okay, guys, stop dribbling the ball, not dribble it myself. You know what I mean? You know, just kind of being around them and seeing the shots that they get, you know, whatever. And I thought one of the coolest parts about the whole thing was this, how you know, everybody was treating me, again, now being the player instead of, again, the producer, and now being the player, to be able to knock a few in. And I think everybody was just really hyped. And that was a time that I for me, got to experience what it was like to be them as far as the cohesiveness as a player. And this is also something to be said, but also there were players and essays that we had to come in that played the opposite team, that played the opposite, and those guys were absolutely incredible. I know. Shout out Sam Cox, you know, being one of those guys as well too. Just the attitude and level of professionalism that these guys came in, and just how beat up. Again, we're asking these guys to not play 2 45-minute halves. We're asking them to play football for hours upon hours upon hours at a time, to make sure, and not just play it to be like, oh, I'm going to take some plays off, but play it and make it look sexy, make it look good, make it look like it's made for, you know, again, TV, make it look good. And that's hard. That is so hard to do in the waning hours where the sun is setting. You've just, you know, you're tired. You have blisters on your feet. Your hamstrings are gone. You know, whatever. It's really hard. But again, it's what I always chalk that up to is finding that energy level where you don't think you have it anymore. And again, where you get that from is I truly believe it's the people that are next to you. It's the people that you're working with, because you're doing it for them. You're doing it for, I was like, I can do it. You know, we can do it. We all can do it. And we just try to will each other to get greatness, you know, on a daily basis, and shot by shot by shot, and just, you know, stream it together and have faith that it'll come out right. But again, it's just knowing that you did the best that you possibly could do that day, and
Yeah.
it was really something special.
And we won.
It was really fun.
We won that game. I mean, we being Arsenal, so and thank you for not embarrassing me on multiple fronts. I would have. Well, I mean, you've already obviously touched on that, but if you have any other, I didn't know, memorable scenes, even episodes that you take away from this show, I'm sure obviously it's difficult to answer, but like, is there a scene or an episode that just stays with you?
Oh, that stays. Oh, like favorite episodes. Oh God, we're talking about splitting hairs here. We're talking about splitting hairs. I don't. And again, this is not an avoidance of the question. I don't have a favorite episode. I'm usually a traditionalist where I go, oh, like let me think back to season one. I think. Oh, it's so tough because again, season one. Just I guess if I can answer like multiple, like season one, where I think everybody's touching, the belief signs. That's for me. It's anything I think that involves the locker room and the team and everybody. Because for me, I treated the locker room when we had the accolades and the success that we had season one and all of that. I could not, me personally, I could not wait to get back to one place back in the UK. And it's a place that I truly, truly, and I even said this to people, it's hallowed ground, which is inside that AFC Richmond locker room. And I think though my favorite scenes involve speeches, and because I was an athlete again myself, again, it's tapping into, like, again, when you're down and out, when there's nothing, there's no light, you have no energy, is finding whatever entity gets you to go forward and complete that task. And I think Ted Lasso, both the characters, the show, has done that for a lot of its viewers. And that's something that I hold the most precious about the show, is because not only have I experienced it myself going forward, but not only have I experienced that going forward, but the greatest gift is I hope that other people, having watched the show, supporting the show, could have felt that too. And that's I don't need the trophies. I don't need the accolades. I don't need the talk in the media. I don't need any of that. But what I need is for, if I can have that effect for someone that has seen the show and go forward, and have that propel them into whatever they want to do, and have them find that peace that when they're done, that allows them to go forward, and we're a part of that. That's something that money can't buy.
Just a quick perusal of like the Ted Lasso hashtag on Twitter, and I can say for certain that effect has been had. Like, there definitely people that have had. I wasn't sure if I was gonna say this, but like, so season one, I think I mentioned this on Twitter recently. A friend of mine was going through something that one of the characters was going through, and this is a friend I really look up to, and I think he had told some people, but he hadn't really told me. And we are someone that we kind of communicate through TV because of our love for TV and all of that. So, and then he just out of the blue just said, X character. It was just like, this scene was wild because X character is going through what I'm going to, and I'm like just like, what? So like it gave him the avenue or the method to like communicate this thing with me, and I think, if nothing else, that would always be like something I hold on to the show, that I was like, that's something that we were able to communicate this thing because a character on Ted Lasso was going through it as well, and I guess he found the avenue to share that with me. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, that would always be.
It was very similar with me, obviously a bit more firsthand being in the show, and obviously I've spoken with you about it before, Chip. I wasn't going through the best time in season one, and I think it was only in season 3 that I actually told you and Jason. And without going into too much detail, but without this show, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't, it saved me. It saved my life. It pulled me in pulled me out of a bad place and put me in somewhere really good. And, I remember telling Jason on the final wrap, and I just said, thank you, and it's that same thing where you see it on Twitter, you see it all there, but it's not just it's not just the fans that are being affected by how the show is, it's the people that are doing it as well. So
absolutely,
it's special.
It's legit.
And that's why I said, like, it's those stories. And again, whether it be on Instagram, Facebook, messages, notes passed, people stop me, in the grocery store or wherever, at airports, wherever, and hearing the stories of how it's helped them or helped family members or helped somebody in their orbit or themselves, however it is, that, like I said, that's the magic. That's the magic. Again, these guys, just got back, or a few, months to weeks ago, and the President of the United States has a believe sign over the Oval Office. Again, did we think then, when it's rainy, because, and again, I say this because one of the last days, I think the last day we shot season 1, we had the bright idea to save all the football and to shoot outside mid-November in the UK when it's cold, wet, and rainy, and we certainly earned those football shots that day. But again, it's cold, it's wet, it's rainy, it's miserable basically, and these people, this cast, this crew, again, that was back when Ted Lasso, we didn't know what Ted Lasso even was. The rest of the world, they know, I think the rest of the world knows what it is now, but this was us maybe not even coming back for a season 2. This is us, not knowing, and these beautiful people put everything that they had into these final shots. And did we know then that the result of their hard-earned work then would amount to this? And then I say again, then that believe sign, that symbol goes, over, the President of the United States, Oval Office. I'm not even afraid to say that. I bawled when I saw that picture. I just started crying. Again, these guys, we've been playing soccer, and I think all of us, when we're not playing soccer, we're on, Xbox or PlayStations or whatever consoles, playing FIFA. And, out of the history of, EA Sports, whether it be, American football, baseball, hockey, whatever, I don't think that they've had a quote unquote fictitious team in any of their realistic games except for one. And that was AFC Richmond. And again, something that doesn't happen. That doesn't happen. But to be able to, affect that much change, to have that much, positive disruption to where people have to pay attention to, it's that you put it in the game. It's, again, seeing, I think, and there's a portion where, like, when we found that out, I think a lot of people were like, again, screw the accolades, screw the whatever. It's like, we're gonna be in FIFA, like, this is nuts, like, this is crazy. What are you talking about? This is huge, whatever. And it's again, that just, again, doesn't happen. But now you know that it is possible. So when you tell me something else can't happen, when you tell me something else is impossible, when you say the odds are stacked against you for something, I want you, again, I've said this to the guys multiple times. I want you to remember your time as a Greyhound. I want you to look at that jersey. You tell me that there was a time where you didn't think that this could happen, where you didn't think that, whatever. And you tell those people that say that you cannot do this, or you cannot, or they want to restrict whatever, and you tell them, don't tell me it can't be done, because we did the impossible. We did, like, again, we did things that people said that we couldn't. And like I said, that my gift, or that, and that mentality, that like I say, that gift that I would love to have given to people is just that, is use this show. And again, Jason even said, take this with you, is use this, take what we've done here and apply it to you. Like, take this and use it however you have to, and know that again, the power that is, within you is way more powerful than the task that lies ahead of you.
I didn't think it was possible, but you surpassed your earlier gift to us, and I think that there's nothing else we can do from there. That's a perfect place to end this podcast.
Bravo.
Thank you so much for not only agreeing to come on, but for giving your time and just the incredible nuggets that you dropped here.
Thank you guys again. Like I said, anybody that again has love in their heart and shows support and observations to what we've created. And again, like I said, we're certainly we're damn proud of what we've done, what we've accomplished. And I'm just glad that you guys were able to again watch, support, enjoy, and again hopefully take it with you and think back on us fondly. And it was so much fun, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Please stay tuned and listen to Lewis and I talk about him kissing a certain someone on screen. But for now, Chip, do you mind just sending us off with that famous Greyhound shout? Can we hear it, please?
Okay, here we go. Ready? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Greyhound.
Okay, that was.
Love it.
I can imagine hearing that at 6 a.m. and getting pumped up. Thank you so much, Chip. Thank you so much.
I don't know how you can hear that and not get pumped up.
Yeah, it's impossible. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Amy said to say hello to you. She said she knew that I was speaking with you today.
You make sure and give love back. Give love back.
Of course.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chip.